them into convenient dustbins to go off. Now the bobby had nothing to do but get wet. He longed for a drunken brawl to break out, or even a serious road accident. Anything where he could behave with efficiency and earn a pat on the back from his superior officers, who were beginning to regard the hush of law and order in the town with suspicion. The police always missing when they were wanted, so to speak. As if PC 132 could help it. Now they were singing Abide With Me in the church, and the strains having reached the Oddfellows, the occupants of the bar parlour took it up, and chapel and pub side by side echoed the same hymn. PC 132 stopped his troubled thinking to listen and said to himself it sounded very nice, and that people weren't always as pagan as you thought they were. Suddenly, like a bolt from the blue, trouble invaded the sodden, silent street. A closed van with headlamps full on, dazzling the eyes until they pained, and lighting up the floods of water rushing to the gutters, zigzagged dangerously down the incline of shining cobblestones, and pulled up with a frightful squeal of brakes in front of the Oddfellows Arms. The door opened and was closed again with a bang, and a flying figure ran into the pub. PC 132 ponderously crossed the road and began to examine the vehicle. "Give me a double brandy," the newcomer was saying inside the inn. Unable to find anyone at the little bar at one end of the long corridor which led from the vestibule, he had opened the door to the bar parlour. At the sight of him, the occupants suddenly stopped singing. Some of them left their mouths open in surprise, the song suddenly cut off from them. "Give me a double brandy." "We haven't any," said the landlord, still in a bad temper. He had some hidden away for special occasions, but he wasn't serving it to any Tom, Dick, or Harry who had the cheek to call on the off chance and ask for a double. "Give me anything." "Only rum. For God's sake, rum, anything." The man looked in a state of collapse. He was wet through and bareheaded. His dark, long hair was so heavily oiled that the rain formed in globules on it and ran down his face and back instead of soaking in. Narrow slits of eyes, a thin, long, pointed nose, and fleshy-lipped mouth with a streak of dark moustache across the top of it. Dazzled by the light and apparently thrown into confusion by some unknown terror, he grimaced and twitched like an idiot. The rain ran from his clothes and formed a pool round his feet. The customers of the pub looked hard at him and summed him up. A cheap-jack, a street corner boy, the sort who stood on the local open-air market selling odds and ends of jewellery and on the sly clothing coupons. They gave him the collective cold shoulder at once. They were all honest-to-goodness working folk, and there was no place for an easy money boy among them. They eyed his clothes with disdain. Heavy overcoat of light cloth, with high padded shoulders and waist pinched in like a pair of corsets. Limp, soaked, baggy trousers, escaping from beneath the coat, and falling low on a pair of long brown pointed-toed shoes. The trembling hand holding the double rum was long and mean, but the fingernails were effeminately manicured. "Give me another." The landlord reluctantly did so. The chap was so obviously all in, it seemed a kindness to do it, especially after singing a hymn. The outer door opened and closed, and PC 132 stood with his huge back to it, taking all in before inquiring what it was all about. "Spiv," one of the party more impudent than the rest, and made bold by beer, uttered the word like an expectoration. The rest sniggered and looked pleased at the joke. The word seemed like the last straw to the strange figure in the padded coat. He removed the glass, from which he was gulping, from his mouth with a gesture so quick that it spilled the contents halfway across the room. "Spiv, did you say?" The man who had been bold braced himself against the wall behind his chair, as though expecting a sudden assault. "Spiv? Yes, I am a spiv. That's what they all say. They stop in the street and shout it after me. Well, they're right. I am a spiv. I'm a spiv. Spiv! Spiv!" He shouted the word as though it pleased him, like someone who has earned a degree or received a title, mouthing it to himself with deep satisfaction.